Okay.
That showed those breakdowns.
I can go back. So we just don't have that handy right now, but since you all wanted to have some conversation about these two, we thought you might want
If I understood correctly, in that 39,000, we work out to about $3,000 per.
Correct. That's correct, because that was the same amount the state funded law enforcement positions were funded, so that matched.
So I came up to 6,000 total with what the state did and what we did.
Oh, no, it was some folks got,
total.
yes, some folks got their 3,000 from the state.
And some got
And
it
then the sheriff came in and asked for 3,000 to cover the folks who were not covered by the state. So everyone would get the same amount in the sheriff's office. So it was covered.
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm not questioning their numbers, but if we kind of established that already with one group, I'm kind of leaning toward offering 3,000 per person. I understand that that's not going to be near what they're asking for, but
Yeah,
I'm looking at it from trying to take this money and treat everybody.
everybody fair.
I see your book again, in y'all's book.
Here's something.
And I may be missing something there, but we're basically awarding hazard pay to anybody that works, well, that's asked for it, that is asked for it, and hazard pay to me is hazard pay no matter what.
This right here is some stuff on that calculator. That makes sense. It's the original American Rescue Funds that we did before, that's what we did on the American Rescue Funds.
2240 divided by
So this is 30.
8.
This is their version of what we did for rescue, except it's slightly less.
Yes, slightly less.
And then the sheriff's office was less even more.
Last year. The sheriff's office.
Divided by 8.
They got it at twice, yeah.
So
Yeah. That's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you, okay.
So that makes sense.
That makes sense now. Thank you.
That makes it on the same playing field as everybody.
Everybody, okay, I got you. And that's where I was trying to get in my head. So with that, because that's right, that was the second round with those, okay. But I think going forward, people.
Everything for the last couple of years.
No, the figure that was used is based on the first round that this board approved during the American Rescue Fund.
For EMS.
Right, for
That's where they come from.
It's actually $1 less an hour than what we awarded for
So
that.
it's actually, by doing this in the full amount, is still less than what was awarded by this board in the first round.
Yeah.
And the CARES Act, I misspoke. I'm sorry. I got it.
Okay, I'm not following you now.
So it's still less, but it's something.
But I think, would it be wrong?
Qualify for CARES Act.
No.
No.
Under, I don't think, how.
That was what we were told at the time.
Right, but what they're asking for out of this is equating fairly close to what we did there. Okay, I got
And they're
that.
putting the actual work hours on that one, when they actually worked.
Right.
Not just a blanket.
Just, yeah.
That they absolutely work.
Okay. Nothing.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, those are actual hours worked by each employee.
And over what period of time? I mean, if you do an 8-hour day,
During the pandemic.
I'm guessing during the entire pandemic, when the order,
Is this,
or when the order came down that they had to stay open.
That's attached on that whole executive
Yeah.
judicial summary thing.
And it was, see, that was done in March 12th of 2020,
Yes.
is when that order came down.
yeah,
right?
So,
no problem.
Right.
no,
My question then is the, ARPA money, can it be spent going back to March 16th, 2020,
March 16, 20, no.
Okay.
so then these are,
The ARPA money would have to be,
there's a different time frame.
yeah, it was a date a particular date in March, because we had to have Dr. Wheeler adjust his request.
March of 2021.
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
So we have to verify these numbers, are these this year's number, or do those go back to the original Supreme Court order?
2020.
Because if they go back to the Supreme Court order, we can't use the funds to fund it.
So we can send it back and ask for clarification for that and
Maybe
bring it
with the
back to
actual
you.
date on it, if this is when the funding could start.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and let them know
The last thing I
that.
want to do is get us in trouble. or-
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Because if we can't, if this goes back to the order of 2020, then this money can't be used to cover a portion of that
And they didn't qualify for CARES,
Right.
what we were told at the
at the
time.
time.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think that.
It
Yeah,
would-
because
it
if
would
it
have
was
to be-
March to now, it would be about 960 hours that they actually worked from April through September, which is about 6 months at 160 hours and 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So it'd be about 960 hours.
Okay, then we would compute that at $4 an hour,
Correct.
and then that would give us the numbers.
36.
So I think what we should do is just validate the ARPA date, go back, revisit Rhonda, let her know how we're looking at it, and have her make
Yeah.
And Nikki, and just be sure that the context of those dates is right.
Say that again, please?
The context of those dates, like it can't be retroactive.
Correct.
Just verify that that's so.
It can't be past whatever that
Right.
date is.
Yeah, sometimes.
I think that's what it is, yeah.
It just, sometimes you see things that, are a little odd like that, and like they say, not unless there's a standing order otherwise or something, so it may be worth our while just to make sure, since it is a judicial executive order, that is not an exception.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, if this stands as an exception and it can be used, then we'd do the full amount.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, right. I just want to make sure I understood.
Yeah, because I mean, that's come down from the Court of Virginia, so. Maybe an exception, I don't know.
So we have guidance on how to move forward with those two and bring them back?
We don't have a date on this Supreme Court.
Yeah, okay.
We're getting all .75 on it.
Oh, yeah.
We're not gonna let you go, Justin, we're just gonna go straight through until December 31st.
Another special meeting and another special meeting?
That was this was the meeting that never ends.
Yeah, there you go.
You do have two other completed applications from outside folks, completely outside folks. And I don't know if you want to have any discussion about those. Move that
Have
forward.
you reviewed them to see that they do qualify?
Yes, so the one is for the Floyd, was it Shop Floyd VA, to basically do the same thing as you did with the CARES money with tourism. Yes, we believe that qualifies. Now, having said that, there is potentially also some new tourism money coming from the state. And even though tourism is under the town for purposes of employment and fiscal agency, that money would actually have to come to us.
Right.
So that one, I think they just would be interested in any guidance about if they need this, because it would be time to start putting that campaign together if you wanted them to do that. So, and then we can talk about the
That's
first
35,000.
Right.
You're showing it as 35 now and 35
Yes,
later, so we're discussing the first 35,000.
yes, thank you.
Was the other one coming down the pike a real reality, or is it?
There'll be something, but we don't really know how much or what yet.
Well,
So,
We put 35 in, and then see what comes, and then we'll decide on the second round.
That's what I was getting ready to say, go ahead with the first 35, and then when the second one comes in, see what's going on with that.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move.
Then we could, if we had to, we'd switch over to the other one.
Yep. I'm for that.
All right, what's the other one?
And then, the last one is the request from Plenty, which is, there's 3 items together in the request, and that's in the book here if you all need to be refreshed. So the 3 items, include, a part-time person. It includes, it's making modifications to the building to basically have a carport essentially for folks to be able to pull in because of the inclement weather issues. And the 3rd item was, if you've ever used anything or heard of something called Instacart, where you can essentially go on an app and order your groceries online, and then you pull up and for a fee they stick them in your car. Something like that, but would be used for folks who are Plenty recipients. Those are their requests at this time. And I forgot what the total is. So, and we can, obviously you guys can ask questions, except,
I'm not sure about trying to fund somebody's employee. That's number one. Because if you're gonna put somebody to work, then you're gonna have to find the money to keep them at work.
There's a difference between retention and new
Hire.
for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
This money ain't gonna be there to help that budget all year long down the road.
Correct. Now, I have no problem with maybe doing some modifications.
The cover report sounds reasonable.
I think so too.
That's 17,000.
17.
I would be in favor of that. I think the other 2 are probably.
Yeah.
The management system is a subscription, $4,800 a year, so the same as the employee when it comes out.
And that's the thing. Yeah.
Correct. That's 3 annual subscriptions at $4,800. I think the covered porch is a wonderful idea. I think it's important. I've been there, I watched, I've seen. I think that would be a very good use.
Is that a motion?
Yes, yes, if the chair would entertain, I would make a motion for the covered porch funding that Plenty has requested for $17,000.
And do the 35,000 for tourism.
And then make the motion for tourism for the $35,000 to help shop Floyd.
All in one motion.
All in one motion.
Second.
Motion second,
all right, so this is for allocation of the Floyd County allocation of the Floyd County ARPA funds, the first tranche of funds to include $17,000 to Plenty to cover for the covered porch funding request, and also $35,000 for the tourism effort for Shop Floyd as part-time. So, given that, Ms. Cookenbook.
Yes.
Mr. Booth.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Turman.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
I would roll through these.
Yes.
Wait.
All right, Mr. Chair, your next item is appointment to Floyd County Selective Service Local Board, action
Can I
item.
make a motion? Can we amend the agenda and change that word from appointment to recommendation?
Second.
Because we do not appoint that position. I'm sorry, I should have caught that earlier, but we change that to recommendation.
All right, we will make that correction if you all are.
We have a motion to approve the agenda, and I'll second that.
To amend the agenda
Yeah.
to change that word.
We have a motion and second on amending the agenda.
and Mr. Yoder was the second. All right. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Yoder?
Yes.
Ms. Cooperman?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Thurman?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, but it just,
Good catch.
it
Yeah, that
needs,
was a good catch.
yeah.
Now, recommendation to Ford County Selective Services Board.
I make a motion that we, recommend Mr. Telling to serve on the Selective Service Board.
Second.
Motion and second. Call the roll.
Okay. On the recommendation for the Floyd County Selective Service Board of Mr. Telling, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Cooperman,
Yes.
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Thurman.
Yes.
All right. So that is your recommendation as approved.
Turn the page.
Mr.
One more at the bottom.
10B.
Appointment of two board-appointed positions to the Tourism Development Advisory Council. And I would note that is separate from C at the top, just to be clear.
I'd make a motion we appoint David Owens to Jessica Kohler to that board.
Second.
Motion second. Call the roll.
All right, so the motion on the floor is the appointment of David Owens and Jessica Taylor to represent the county on the Tourism Development Advisory Council.
Can I ask one question? Are we appointing them to, aren't they staggered terms? One's a 1 year and I think one's a 2 year, isn't it?
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that's the way we set it up.
Yeah, so everybody can go off at the same time.
So I would amend my motion to put Mr. Owens on the 2 year term.
There you go.
And my second to reflect his motion.
Ms. Taylor for the 1 year term.
Precisely.
There you did.
Now we're getting.
Okay, are we voting on it as amended?
As amended.
Okay, as amended. That, David Owen for a 2 year term and Jessica Taylor for a 1 year term on the Joint Tourism Development Advisory Council. Mr. Yoder?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Cookimus?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Thurman?
Yes.
All right, thank
You,
you.
you may put in a letter to her when you notify her that why it's a 1 year term.
Yeah.
It's staggered.
Yes.
And then where will they go? They'll always be 1 and 2, or are we going?
No, that'll be 2 year.
2
Two
years.
months will
That's
be
right.
staggered.
Right.
And also be sure and send a thank you letter to the other interested parties.
Yes. You had a lot of great folks that were interested. That's really nice. Any interest in moving on, Mr. Chair? So at the top of the second page, approval of Chamber of Commerce representative on the Tourism Development Council. And as you recall, the requirement is the chamber nominates someone, but both the town and the county need to approve that recommendation.
I make a motion, we, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion that we approve
I was getting.
Mrs. Karen Grosshans as the Chamber of Commerce representative on the Tourism Development Council.
For a 2
For a
year.
2 year term.
Second.
Call the roll.
Okay. Ms. Cookenwick?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Yoder?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Thurman?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mark's still here.
Glad-
Very short.
Glad for punishment.
As you all know, Mark is graciously agreed, although every day I think he thinks that was a good idea or not, to expand his role to include not only continuing to be our county building official, but also take over overall management responsibility and leadership for facilities, which includes the transfer station, maintenance, and buildings, and capital planning. So that's why he's here today to talk to you kind of about what he's been finding and some thoughts.
Okay. Get your paper. All right. This is just, I don't know, question and answer, approval to proceed. Anyway, we got 3 trucks from electric paper there. We got 12 men, we got 2 leaders, we got 4 workers, we got 4 drivers and 2 operators. Basically, we got 2 operators always working in the transfer station down there, loading trucks, cleaning up. We got 4 men driving around 2 flatbed trucks or box trucks, and they're loading and unloading everything by hand. It's a little bit of time consuming. We got the backup driver, which is also our mechanic now. We're using, they can save the county lots of money. Then we got the 2 leaders that can fill in where somebody's out or sick, so forth. But what we want to do is start taking some of these old boxes and making them cardboard boxes. Instead of having to back up and load everything by hand, unload and so forth, cut a slot in the box, people break the boxes down, put it in there, and we take the truck and load everything up and dump it and push it into the roll-off and try to save time and labor. Because we got some gentlemen that's getting up in some age and probably some retiring next few years. So look at maybe saving some costs with that.
Could you repeat that again? I want to make sure I understood what you said. I'm sorry.
Taking some of our old green boxes.
Right.
And locking the doors, cutting the slot in them, and making them for cardboard use.
Right.
And just get that working.
Put it in the roll-offs.
And put it in, and dump it at the transfer station and push it in roll-offs. We're not bailing that much no more because there's so much cardboard coming to the county.
I only got one thing that comes to mind.
Okay?
You know, these boxes set out in different places.
Well, I'm getting to that.
You know, but what about the leach aid?
About the leach.
From the green boxes, the green boxes are not watertight. So you're going to have rainwater get into these boxes, and they're going to have to be treated. Unless I'm wrong, you get clearance from T&Q. I understand what you're saying, it's great, but the first thing that popped in my mind, once the water goes inside those containers, it's considered leachate, just like it is in the green boxes and stuff, in the trash ones. So we're going to have to, I'm not trying, it's a great idea, I hated to say it, but I had to, because that leachate then is a contaminant that has to be caught and hauled off, just like it is on transfer station.
And you got a printer right here.
Although he's talking about in the truck, when a truck dumps.
Yeah.
When the truck dumps,
When the truck
see,
dumps,
is
that water has to be-
that water that gets in those green boxes. I'm not trying to shoot you down, it popped in my head and I had to get it out. If it was leachate, it has to go on the transfer station floor where it runs in and is collected and then hauled off. So it would have to be dumped on the transfer station, then transferred to the recycling.
Well, maybe we could have a separate concrete pad flowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
So we keep everything in order.
Well, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I apologize for
Any
interrupting
liquid
you.
coming out of the truck has to be caught.
Has to be
That's
caught.
bottom line.
And if these green boxes are setting out, if old boxes, new boxes, they're not watertight. So the leachate has to be collected somewhere, whether we pour a separate pad and have a pipe to where we're catching it for the transfer station or whatever. Just food for thought, I'm sorry, but.
Well, I appreciate it. It's good to know. But there, we're looking through a great big window right now.
Oh, I know.
Okay? All right. So, anyway, we can try to get that started and also doing our plastics and glass and so forth like that. I'm looking at a 2-year plan, trying to. But I want to try to get something started now, because we have some issues. Also, the picture you have there, this is county-owned property. And It's right beside the Willis Fire Station. Now, everybody okay?
Are you breathing?
Just want to make sure.
He just dozed off.
I can imagine why anyone would do that.
I gotta put you guys to wake up.
We just trying to take care of you now.
Well, your mama's so loud, I fell asleep.
He did look like he was breathing.
I can see me.
Okay.
Okay.
Love you, Doug.
All right. Hey, the microphone.
That's a whole lot better.
Okay, well, just a quick run from one truck. It runs, to leave the transfer station, go around and pick up all these boxes around and about is, it's 53 miles. Go here and get 3 boxes, here 2 boxes, over here 7 boxes, so forth. What I'm thinking would like to ask permission of the board is we have property next to the firehouse in Willis. It's county property. Someone that mentioned to me it was purchased for maybe a rescue squad in the future. But anyway, with that property, doing a convenience center, instead of making the trucks go around all these properties, running all this extra mileage and gas, do something central and save fuel, cost, wear and tear on a vehicle. And something like this, we could put cans out for recycling, put 24 boxes there for trash, and then put 3 roll-offs. So, if you have, I think you might have noticed when you come in toilet sometimes on Monday or Sunday, you got couches, you got recliners, you got mattresses, you got Frigidaires, dishwashers. Well, if you get some short roll-offs, they can back in here and dump them in them roll-offs.
That'd be good.
Deer carcasses. The other day we had deer carcasses in them.
That's supposed to go in one over our leg.
They're supposed to, but, sometimes if people ain't being watched, they'll do some odd thing.
They do that.
So if you get something centralized for a starter, in the future, and have, instead of maybe spend more labor at the transfer station, maybe hire labor or part-time help to man the fence and gate, closing them once they know, you don't put that there, you put it over there. If you don't put it in the right place, we'll tag you and call the deputy or not allow you to come back. I don't know. It's a thinking process. So,
It's a great idea.
this here is to get you thinking. Hopefully you won't forget about me when you go to bed tonight.
I've been in centers for years.
Work the gate. Work the gate.
Whatever you want.
Just after.
At some point, we have to try one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's-
Absolutely.
One of the worst locations, it sounds like, is in Willis. That, I mean, they're everywhere, but maybe probably there's all kinds of parties there.
Well, the fact that, Carol, I think the Carroll County deal with hard to get trash. Carroll makes it difficult to get rid of trash. I think that's one reason that, like on mine, we can't run it, kind of picks up trash. So it's not, we're not hitting nearly as hard down there as we're on Willis, Carroll County trash.
Yeah.
That's just the
Carroll
trash.
County weekends, that's what killing us there, about for them.
So,
It's the right spot.
something like this is gonna cost some money up front, but hopefully cutting fuel price down, labor down, cutting trash down.
Yep.
You should see a payoff in a few years.
I'd be willing to bet you're gonna save 10% trash.
First year.
When I go to a jail meeting or when I get down one I always look at the one Patterson or Barron Springs or there.
Yes.
It's always just as neat. I wanted to see one of these for years.
Yeah.
Well, what you got started at the Indian Valley the new boxes, the new fencing. That seems to be staying clean. I don't know how much clean, I mean, I ain't talked to the drivers how much they gotta pick up, but they ain't been no complaining.
Right.
I mean, you know, plus getting fenced in, the birds are here. And until the, state opens up more bird hunting,
Let Justin get out here, do it right
When does it start?
so
It's in now?
y'all think about the locations, are you willing to use that property for a starter, for a guinea pig?
Yeah, I think it's great.
I think that needs to be part of the board's discussion in budget time.
Also, does that change anything in any of our permitting process going from the individual sites to centralized sites?
I don't think it changes, I'll double check, but I don't think it changes our permit issues. We will have to change the transfer station operations manual, which we have to update every year, and I have to sign something and they come and audit it. So we would just, when that happens, we can make that change.
So, which ones are you thinking of pulling off of the roads and making this centralized? Is that what you have the line around?
Well, on the right and on the back,
Yeah.
well, that's more of the Willis area, Paul Goads, VDOT, well, VDOT would leave theirs, I guess they pay for theirs, not their rental. The Kyle Weeks, we had to leave the Willis School, and we pulled it there at the peak of the church at the road trip, but also these other little ones as we work forward to it, it's like Vaughn's Mill, you got 2 or 3 boxes there, Max Mountain, which we could pull them and, no, that's the new
We just
center.
spent a bunch of money.
Okay, we'll leave Max Mountain. But, you know,
Justin's eyes got that.
eventually, as we work on this, we'll move all the outside sites away.
Yeah.
Everything, but we have, try to get 4 locations, and then at a later date, we'll look at around town. We could possibly leave here at Slaughters and Franklin Pike, because I think we try to push too much traffic into the transfer station, we're gonna get bottlenecked and have a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Right.
We need to try to work it out to where our trucks are traveling on the main highways, not going down to anybody, I mean,
Before you do that.
well, go down to anybody, rather get to Max Mountain, but, you know, like these other roads, going down to Vaughn's Mill, yeah, those little narrow roads, it's a lot of time the trucks expense when the public can, they're gonna be going to work or they can come to town sometime. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Make it a nice spot and everybody will be happy. If it's
Yeah.
a mess, then nobody's gonna be happy.
so with your lessons,
Will there be a gravel area?
You wanna do that?
it would be best to asphalt,
Well,
at least the main road area, drive through.
if it's, the road, yes, but I don't know about where the boxes actually sit.
We could do that with stone.
Well, I was gonna say, because I think if you hard surface it, you get back into the leachate problem.
Well, I'm just thinking about, you know, average traffic coming through, but
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, the road in is fine, but I think if you actually pour a pad or make a hard surface where you're collecting
You can
that.
put the boxes just off the pavement, on some gravel, and put the pavement at the box.
Yeah, that's fine, I was just saying, making sure where the boxes sit, I don't think, if they're sitting on the hard surface, I think you get into the leachate problem, but if they're sitting on the gravel surface, I don't think it comes into play. I can't, it's been so long since I've looked at that stuff, I'm sorry, but.
The ones at D-Arch, you might as well add them to this, D-Arch Grocery on the road,
yes.
because that's up for sale, and I'm pretty sure whoever buys it's probably gonna ask us to do.
Well, I mean, them problems are coming. I mean,
So there's most people shooters,
so,
shooters using them, so, you know.
yeah, so, listen,
Well, I think that what the best thing to do is for you to develop some type of plan and then get us ballpark price, and then we
Yeah.
start in February on,
oh, it's just money.
well, you still got budget.
So try to get something worked up for next year's budget.
Yeah.
Which is coming up in a couple
One of
months.
the first things is gonna be the grade, what grading needs to be done there.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Pretty well.
Pretty level.
Yeah.
it's pretty low, it's got some fall going down to the branch there, to the wetland area, but,
Yeah, that's right. So that's it.
but you know, I could take a guess at, but I think we're gonna end up looking at getting surveyed,
Right.
engineer, erosion settlement, try to keep it under an acre for disturbance, so we don't keep DEQ out of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I like it now.
Yeah, I like it.
If I remember that right, it's the level with the road. It's kind of, you know, more like a backfill.
Yeah, it is.
You know, build it up.
Maybe we can probably steal some dirt somewhere, some farmer, or cut the backside off.
That's what I mean, you know, the way it's sort of down, look like you'd be backfill.
That's what I was talking about. Grading.
Yeah.
There have to be some grading.
It's gonna be something, removing topsoil and so
That
forth.
wouldn't have to be perfectly flat either, I mean, you could have.
No, we don't slope more than 3.
And mind you, we have spent part of the funding already, but you guys did put $80,000 in your budget after we did in the valley to do some revox site issues. So I know some of it, we've got to spend up near the grid. But, that might be something as we start down this process, maybe start down there. Maybe before site told about that.
Sounds like a great idea, and a good spot to try it. We've done New Valley, do Wells, if that works in a year or two, we'll go to another spot. Work our way around again.
If we put another head in the landfill, to catch the leachate when it's cut off, that will definitely involve DEQ.
Yes. We'll have to deal with DEQ. So far, that's actually gone fairly well. I did work on some permit revisions, which I sent to Cheryl. There's a couple of pieces in there. There's a paperwork issue with some of our old permit stuff, so we're kind of starting over. But DEQ recognizes that they don't have everything either, so
Yeah.
it's working pretty well. So, but that,
Appreciate it, Mark.
All right,
Thank you,
I
Mark.
think it's a great idea. I'm not trying to shoot you down. Don't take it that way, please.
all right. Mr. Chair, if you'd like me to move on. Item E, this is an action item. Floyd County School Board requests approval of a revenue and expenditure supplemental appropriation in the FY22 budget in the amount of $189,315, with the revenue source being the federal ESSER's Part 2 funds used for new HVAC controls and convector valves at the Floyd County High School. And you'll see the backup information in your packet for that.
For a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Good.
All right, Mr. Chair, would you like me to call the roll?
You know,
Okay. On the supplemental appropriation for the schools, the first item, Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Ms. Kuchenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes.
Mr. Booth.
Yes.
And Mr. Turner.
yes.
All right, thank you. Item F, Floyd County, which is also an action item, Floyd County School Board requests $122,396.16 be appropriated from the Capital Improvement Fund to the FY22 School Board budget in the Operation and Maintenance category and Career Development Center. This request is associated with specialized welding equipment for the Collaborative and Career Development Center. And again, you'll see that's listed 10F in your packet.
I so move.
Second.
Motion second, we call the roll.
Okay. Call the roll on the second request from the school system. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Cookerwood?
Yes.
Mr. Yoder?
Yes.
Mr. Thurman?
Yes.
All right, thank you. That is approved. Item G. This is also an action item. Floyd County PSA Award Letter, Guidance and Required Certification and Comparison for COVID-19 ARPA SLFRF Municipal Utility Assistance Program, approved for $5,590.19. Partnership for the county funds and signatures are required. You'll recall this is funding that has been requested by the PSA from the state under the state COVID funds. And it allows for recouping of utility assistance. So it helps the PSA and folks that have been unable to meet their utility bills during COVID. We will serve as the fiscal agent as required for this.
Ready for a motion?
Move that we approve $5,590.19 be accepted and authorize all signatures to be done as required for Floyd County to be fiscal agent by our staff.
Second.
On that item, Ms. Cookenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Turner.
Yes.
All right, thank
I think that's a great thing for citizens to be able to find and found money.
I just have a couple of items for my section, and they should be pretty quick, and then of course you still have board member time. I have good news and bad news on the BEAR grant. The good news is we were awarded the BEAR Wise grant from the state. The bad news was our request was for $52,000 to build essentially a convenience center by the Commerce Center. That amount requested exceeded the total amount available to the state for this program, which neither our Nancy or myself knew. So they awarded us $8,000 and said, can you use it? And I said, of course we can use any money you would like to send us. So I will, assuming you will approve that, we'll go ahead and take the $8,000. One of the things that I would probably suggest we use that funding for would be for some bear-resistant containers at the rec park, because those are smaller and would be less expensive. The big ones cost $8,000 for one. And that would help with some of the trash issues out there. And then potentially we'll look at some other things, but maybe some signage around some of the green box sites related to bears. And that will make us also meet more of the qualifications to be a bear-wise community, which would help us with future applications.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get there. We'll find money for these things all eventually. So thank you. We'll move forward with that. Personnel staffing update. We are gone through a series of interviews for an IT person and have done a series of first round, and second in the management team did a second round. We may have one more person we haven't done in the first round, the later application that came in, we may or may not add one. But right now we're to the point there's a unanimous recommendation of the people interviewed for an IT person. So Kim and I'll sit down and chat after we get through today and figure out where we'll go. But that's kind of where we are with that. We also still have posted the position to work with Mark that would both be a maintenance person. We did advertise it as someone having more advanced skills, And then also, that position would also be a residential building inspector trainee, with the hopes that they would be able to, over time, start helping Mr. Volt with some of the additional inspections. As I think I've told you just about every meeting, the number of permit requests continue to go up, and we still continue to be pretty much 50% year over year. So some assistance is required. And as you see, Mark is also now doing some other things, so he needs some assistance. So we have that posted and are working through that. And then finally, we still also have posted for EMS, full-time EMS positions. We've gotten some applications, not as many as we would hope, but probably more than we expected, given the market. And people seem to be responding that are interested mostly to the 24/72 schedule that we've proposed, because that's allowing some folks who have some other types of jobs possibly be able to help us, because they can work around their other jobs that are not necessarily EMS jobs. So that's been kind of interesting to see who those people are. So that's where we are on those issues. Then the parking and shooting range updates are related. You might recall some time ago, the sheriff asked about the possibility of creating a shooting range out at the transfer station, potentially on the landfill, and also creating a parking pad for vehicles that have been taken because you have to thank you.
Confiscated.
I don't think that's it, but yes, vehicles that he is legally allowed to take because of other issues. Sorry, I can't remember. Impounded? But in any case, we've been. Thank you. I think I've run out of brain cells. So.
I know that one, right? That's what you think. I know that one.
So we've been talking to DEQ as part of this continuing permit discussion about both of those items, and you won't be shocked to know that DEQ has created a book on how you can do both of these things, including all the rules. The parking issue is we might be able to do that. I think initially we thought we could not, because of course DEQ does not want you to do anything that would puncture or cause any risk to the cap, because then we have all of our compliance issues resurface. Mark thinks there might be a space out there, though, that would not, it would just be on the transfer station space and is not necessarily over the landfill.
Good.
So that might be a
That's the part
possibility.
where we would retain that permit over out from the white goods back out in there.
Yes, I think you're right. So we're looking at that, and then also the shooting range, again, a nice book to tell you how to do that. That one may be a little bit more challenging, but again, we're trying to work with DEQ through what those requirements would be. And I've also asked separately Billy Newcomb, who is our Draper Aiden person, to double check that this will not cause us any extension of our compliance issues. But as long as, so we're trying to move forward, but I also don't, I know you all had interest in doing those things, but also don't want to add years to our compliance. So.
Since we're having iron problems and cobalt, and you can't use lead bullets, because that'll create a problem out there too.
Federal government get to this cave now with the rifles.
Yeah.
Bullets.
That's what the parkway's using.
Yep.
Wood bullets.
And
Actually more like a plastic that goes away.
The final item that I have on here is, assuming I can ever get to putting it together, I have been asked to be a panelist this week on Thursday at the Governor's Housing Conference to talk about Floyd County, the affordable housing situation, what the impact has been of the Zoom culture, I think is what it's tagged. So essentially, folks being able to move out of urban areas to ex-urban and rural areas. And part of the reason they wanted us to, me to be on the panel and talk about those things is because it appears that we are one of 3 counties that are on track to potentially get to 100% coverage, 3 rural counties. And so they wanted us to have us talk about how that's been helpful and what the impact is. Or hurtful. What I will likely talk about related to that impact is really, I think, as Ladina and I looked at the numbers, and I'd be happy to hear you all's thoughts if you want to call me later, but what we consistently see is it does allow more people to have businesses, standalone business, consulting business, that kind of thing. So it's helping grow our current economy probably more than necessarily bringing folks in, although we have some areas like particularly Eugene's district where we have a lot of folks that are moving in. Anyway, so that's where I will be. I spoke to the chair about this the other day. I want to make sure that all sounded good. But that's the last thing that I have.
You scared me how far I was going to have to get in.
So, but when the people who are in charge of the baddie money ask you to speak,
Yes.
you should speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that is shockingly enough, Mr. Chair, all that you have.
We're going to skip the board member time.
I just said,
Oh, see, I was mistaken. He was corrected.
she's got one more.
An issue, a question has come up, and appreciate a couple of the folks that have been on the board a while bringing this to our attention, that normally you would have a legislative meeting in December with your new elected folks. And so is that something you would like to consider for your agenda on December 14th? We had one of the elected folks actually contact us, and we would obviously reach out to them more than just the one that contacted us.
I don't know that they've ever took anything we said back and actually reduced it, but at least it'd be all there.
That's a daytime meeting.
Yeah.
I'm confused on what we're doing in December anyway.
Slightly there.
I missed last month.
So December 7th, we're doing a public.
She missed this.
No, there's a sticky, yes, skipped it on purpose.
I didn't read that. That had anything to do with me, so I didn't read it.
So the 7th, we're doing a night meeting,
Yes.
and the 14th, we're there.
Correct.
7th is the public hearing for the
I
redistricting.
need to look, I haven't seen that.
And other business.
And other business, business that come before this board.
We've got a couple of interviews to do.
Correct. Yes, that's what Kim was mentioning as well. So you had originally scheduled to just meet at 7 o'clock, and that's where what our advertisement is to December 7th at 7, have a redistricting public hearing.
Right.
But since then, we have recognized that you have 2 boards that you need to fill positions for. And you've been getting a lot of requests. I will tell you, you're getting a lot of folks that are wanting to be a part of that. So our suggestion to the chairman and you all is that we go ahead and schedule that also as a regular meeting before or after the public hearings to do those interviews and if there's any other business.
And we designate on the schedule that was sent out that it was going to be a redistricting. We just stated that it was going to change our normal second Tuesday.
Yes,
Just change that date.
Yeah, but we also have to, we have a
Yes.
separate notice. So we have been putting a lot of notices in the paper, you know. So there will be a second notice that will advertise the public hearing on the 7th. Correct. And then December 14th is your daytime meeting, and that includes a vote on your redistricting ordinance. And public comment is accepted for redistricting through December 15th. That's something.
I like officials on some people, that's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I will, if it's okay, I'll call them and.
Okay. Hearing no objection, is that a consensus?
Yeah.
Okay. Here, you have your board member time and.
Ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion to adjourn.
I thought Jerry had some.
You'd be in
That's
fine.
all right, that's all right.
I'm probably just kidding there.
No, I was just gonna say, ask them, remind everybody to look at the sheriff's
Yeah.
proposal. That we could either take it up to 7th or the 14th or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll probably go here myself.
And staff, sure, whatever we decide at that time, that gives you enough time to get everything going, so if it goes January 1.
So Jerry, Jerry was asking, I think the answer is if they do something on the December 14th meeting, then we need to, right.
That still gives you time to do, get all the paperwork there, I just wanna make sure.
Yep, thank you for worrying
And
about
that's
that.
all, I just
I move adjourn.
second.
You just said
Did that.
Hell, y'all said yeah.